The Jimbo Fisher Radio Show is brought to you by Capital Farm Credit, the largest agricultural lender in Texas. Capital Farm Credit, together, we're better. And we're at Rudy's, 504 Harvey Road here in College Station. The Fighting Texas Aggies are 1-0, and they're coming off the 52-10 win over New Mexico. We'll go to Miami on Saturday and take on the Hurricanes. We'll talk about this past Saturday. We'll do it with the head coach of the Fighting Texas Aggies, Jimbo Fisher. Howdy, Coach.
Howdy. How we doing?
I'm doing well. I always ask you in the beginning of these because you usually talk right after a game, and then you have the Monday media availability. You get a chance to digest the tape. What'd you see? What'd you like from Saturday's win?
A lot of consistency, not a lot of self-inflicted wounds that sometimes happen early, silly mistakes. Communication was really good. We had a couple penalties in the second half I didn't like. We got some unsportsmanlike that we need to clean up. And at one time, it started the second half with too many guys on the field. But other than that, the first half was really clean. Like I said, the communications, the checks, getting hats to hats, not a lot of busted plays or things on defense. Of course, we tackled well. Thought we were physical in the line of scrimmage on both sides, and skill guys were able to make plays. And except for that, we had to break down into field goal protection right before the half. Unfortunately, we executed really well to get that shot. But then didn't get that. But other than that, special teams I was really happy with.
So the special teams, you had terrific coverage, and you had
Really
said
good.
really good punter for New Mexico. And when you have an Anais Smith back there, which you have again, you have to make a choice. Do you want to kick to him and trust your return, or do you kick it short? The first couple of punts were short, and then when they did kick to him, he almost broke one.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Or trying to kick away from him and things, and that causes problems for people. And we're doing a good job of getting hats to hats, and he's got dynamic in space and made plays and set up a touchdown.
Yeah, then you took shots, Jimbo. It was great to see. Able to go deep with a bunch of athletic receivers. You kept telling us, the same way you tell us about Demetrius Crown over on that offensive line, you kept saying Noah Thomas, and you said it from day one, and you said Evan Stewart's going to be someone special, and with zero there and the depth that you have, you try to take one away, Jimbo, and you just have so much
you got
playmakers.
options, and those guys have grown up. I mean, a lot of the silly mistakes and things you fought through last year, and they played, and they understand, and they work. And Noah started in before we even got to spring ball last year. We knew in fourth quarter drills he had a chance. He was having an outstanding camp there and going to have it, and he took it to the field and just did it. And Evan's growing, Zero's growing, 9 really did. Moose caught some balls. It's becoming a really good group, man. You got to have dynamic. But I'm going to say this. Why we were able to do it, we had clean pockets.
Yep.
You can draw it up all you want. Our offensive line drastically was different than a year ago. I mean, we put hats to hats. We ran the ball. We picked things up. We picked blitzes up. Quarterbacks had time to stand and make reads and get to, different parts of the play and get the ball out of our hand. And our offensive line was as key to that as anything.
For as much as we talk about the relationship between quarterback and receivers, right? Those 5 on that offensive line, when they're playing together, Jimbo, that's unbeatable, isn't it?
Well, and then you got to tie the tight end into runs and in your backs into protections. I mean, all that whole correlation, the quarterback setting the different mics and how the schemes were running, and those guys did a really good job. And that's a tougher team. That's a very tough team to prepare for. Tons of twists, blitz, different looks, and we did a really, really good job of getting hats to hats for the most part. I mean, occasionally there was 1 or 2, but sometimes that happens. You don't want any, and we got to get that fixed. But, man, it was a really good job, and the quarterbacks felt comfortable. They could stand in there, and they could step up and drive the ball down the field.
And he can certainly do that. He did. And with some fantastic throws, Max Johnson comes in. You like to be able to play a number of guys, too, in that first week, don't you? So let them get that experience.
Many guys you get out there and you can get playing and get some of those young guys, get their nerves and get everything out of them. You had a lot of freshmen. I mean, you had a true freshman right tackle playing and all that stuff. You had Ruben Owens was playing a ton of ball, picking up blitzes, catching, running, doing things like that. York on defense, but a lot of freshmen saw. Javion Thomas and Brooks and Rogers and Hicks and then Damon Sanford, all those guys. I mean, there was a lot of guys over there that were doing a really nice job, and it's nothing like getting to the field when the lights are on and people in the stands. You can draw it up 100 different ways in practice, but till you get there and you got to go through that, it's a different.
It's you kind of forget, right? You kind of you dream about it, and then it's here. You want to see how they react, right? And
exactly
they really
right.
reacted.
Who's the game still sped up for, and who's it slowing down for? And it's going to take some time for all those guys to totally adjust.
You mentioned the Damian Sanford and Chance Johnson, Sam Matthews making the play, the 12th man, but I think I noticed that special teams even more because those are the snaps for those guys and can really lead to confidence, can't it?
Well, it is, and in field position. People don't realize that's a 30-year game. I mean, there's 30-some snaps in the game, and those guys in the field position, it dictates where you get it or where they get it. And hidden yards that no one talks about, man, you're tremendous in the game.
Yeah, Nias can certainly get, and we joked in your office today, Ruben almost broke one.
Yeah, he almost
then
broke
they stopped
one.
Kicking to him.
Yep. And we got hats to hats, and first time he ever hit it, he did a really nice job. I mean, he's going to be a really good player.
And that's the fun thing for him, right? Because he gets the ball in his hands. It doesn't have to be on a handoff or on a play being called for him. He gets that ball and says, you love those kind of playmakers and game changers.
Well, it's a little slower. It's a little different and back there, and you get to see it. But now you got to hit it. You got to have a guts to stick it up through there, and he does. And I think he's going to help us in a ton of ways. We'll talk a little bit about the defense when we come back to the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show. We are at Rudy's, 504 Harvey Road here in College Station. Stay with us. This is Aggie football from Learfield. Howdy, Aggs. Andrew Monaco here, inviting y'all to visit Costa Vida Fresh Mexican Grill. Baja-style Mexican made from scratch daily, serving breakfast tacos, lunch, and dinner. Aggie-owned and operated by our friend Holly in South College Station. We continue with the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show. I always do this. I never know what the time is. It's 7:15 Central. I don't know what time it is in Melbourne, but I can tell you that Effie has checked in. So that's all that matters. We're good. The Constantinos are checking in. So everything is quite all right with Jimbo Fisher. I'm Andrew Monaco. It's the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show presented by Capital Farm Credit. This defense of yours, Jimbo, New Mexico was going to possess the football as long as possible. They were going to try to do what they can. Short passes, keep that offense off the field. And you said it was not going to be easy with the twists and the stunts and all that they were going to show you. But this defense, for the offense, what they did, this defense really adjusted early, did it not? Well, they snapped the ball with 1 or 2 seconds, milking the clock, and they got some first downs. And all of a sudden, they ate 7 minutes of the first quarter. And luckily, we got a drive and scored, and we only had it one. We had it the second time, and then had to go into the second quarter. And that's how you lengthen games. That was a smart plan by them. It's good coaching. It's what they do to give yourselves a chance to win, and making sure if we weren't so efficient offensively, that could have been a frustrating night. And then it gets into late in the game, and you're a 1 or 2 score game, and anything can happen. So, but our efficiency there, but our defense did a great job in the run game. Took the air out of the runs, leveraged the ball, tackled very well. Once we got the quick passing game under control a little bit, then we started getting some more pressure on the quarterback and making him hold the ball just a little bit, and they played really well.
The one touchdown drive, you answered immediately, and then kept them.
It was a shame. We had them back, and they went 80-some yards. We had a penalty in that drive, and then we misfit 2 runs, and that's all it was. I mean, I talk about eye violations and misfits. That's how simple it was. 2 guys in one gap, and they hit the open gap, and we had to get that fixed, and we got that. But then we were able to come. They made it 14-7, and we got back to 21-7. But they did a good job of extending the game and making it as close as they could. 11 drives in the game, Jimbo. You had 7 scores, which is really nice. Not a lot of drives. I mean, again, the new rules cut down that's
some of the
about
plays.
Average anyway, though. You get about, I always say, 10 to 13, depending on the flow of the game. And that's why I say your efficiency, and that's why everybody says you can play well, as crazy as this sounds, and not score points, because, say, 5 guys have 1 mess up in the game. All of a sudden, that's 5 drives. That's half your drives. Right. You know what I mean? And then you don't score. That can happen very easily, and that didn't happen to us. But the other thing is, offsets, that's big plays. And we did a good job. We got penalties on them. They had a lot of but we attacked them and got interference calls and things in the game and helped too. So, but our aggression paid off.
Yeah, not to be funny, but 15 yards is better than probably a couple of scores on some of those plays. You might as well take that penalty.
That's why I say that rules need changed in college.
I mean, that's a huge play in the pros, isn't it? I mean,
that's a 40, 50-yard play.
Yeah, it is. Yes, it is. Jimbo, the red zone, so efficient in the red zone, and I may be underselling that.
Well, we were, and we weren't. We hit from outside of it a lot, but that's the key. I mean, listen, it gets down to turnovers, big plays, third down efficiency, red zone efficiency. And then, being able to run the football when you have to run it, short yardage, goal line situations, and all those key things, we were very efficient. You got to punch it in. You take all that time off the clock and kick a field goal. Guys, it's a one-play score, and they can get the lead back. So it's important to punch it in, and we did. And you did on that one touchdown. It was Le'Veon Moss with another guy that I haven't mentioned enough about coming back. Ernest Crownover has really adjusted since he's been here, hasn't he? Yeah, he's done a great job at fullback, and the roles that he has. It's not in there a ton, but when he's in there, he's very efficient and does a great job. And inside Amari Daniels. Amari Daniels may be running better than any of our backs right now, and I don't mean that as any slight to the other two. That he is really hitting things, timing things, is in a good rhythm. So he and Crown and those guys are all in. David Bailey got in and got some really good time. So we got some quality guys.
He's not easy to get on the ground.
No.
Amari got stronger, Jimbo, but he didn't lose any of his speed.
No, he gained speed. He was quicker, faster, which is the way you should do it, and he did.
It's interesting with your if I say the three backs, I'm talking Daniels, Moss, and Owens, and I don't mean to leave out David Bailey or Crown. But they all seem to give you a little bit of a different look, don't they?
They do. They all have their different things. They all can catch the ball. They did a great job in pass pro. The first touchdown that we threw, if you watch Amari scan all the way back to a nickel coming off the backside and pick that blitz up, was a heck of a job. And like I say, a lot of things a back does that become very unnoticed a lot of times. When you run the ball, but there's a lot of other things they do. Man, they got so many parts of the game they affect, and they have to be strong pass blockers, they have to be strong runners, have to be strong pass catchers, and then you get into, are they short yardage backs, are they spread backs? I mean, there's so many things those great ones could do, and our guys can do all of it.
You mentioned this on Monday as well. You talk about selfless. That was Anais Smith in the win, wasn't he?
Oh, he was. The push cracks he made, the blocking of the safeties, the runs, and he got a couple catches, but he cleared some routes out and created one-on-ones for the other guys and playing hard. And, just, being Amari. Being Anais. Just running the football, catching the football, blocking, and being a team leader and in the return game.
Yeah, you just missed it last year, right? You just missed having him on and I know he was there to support his teammates, but it's just a difference because you always have to know where number 0 is on the field, don't you?
And that was huge for us. The ability, and the other thing, you got to remember the experience he had, and then the talent in which he had. That was a huge loss for us last year.
Jimbo, I'm not bringing it up. I did last year, and I got myself in trouble. Those experienced guys, the McKinley Jacksons, and for as talented as he is, to see him rub off, like his legacy is going to be how Walter Nolan then plays and the rest of his line mates, what Layden Robinson has done with his guys, what Damani does on that back end, like how much they affect who they're playing with, not just their game, but who they affect playing with.
Affect the guys about how to prepare, how to do things, what's expected, what's the standard. Those older guys can set the standard for those young guys to abide by.
And part of that now this week is, okay, Saturday's done. Layden Robinson said after the game, he said, look, we're getting right to Miami on Sunday. It's not an off day and doing it Monday.
No, you got to get right back. You got to move on. Good, bad, indifferent. You got to move to the next one, and that's a short window of preparation, and that's the key. The preparation to be able to handle the things, and when the pressure comes, you've created the habits during the week that allow you to function. You have said time and again that you have guys who love ball. So looking at film and then adjusting and practicing well, that's all part of ball, isn't it? All the ball. There's so many things that go to being a good football player that besides just playing. The preparation. You can never play well until you prepare well and train your eyes and know what to look at to be able to process the information. And the game is a very complicated game today. The multiplicity of personnels, formations, defenses, blitzes. You have to really, truly understand conceptually what is happening. And to do that, you have to put a lot of time in. For Connor at quarterback and all the things that New Mexico was throwing at him, were you happy with what he recognized? Blitzes, pickups, buying time when there were unblocked people, not panicking, and being able to get the ball out efficiently and not taking negative plays. That was a problem last year, was the negative plays. Stayed away for the most part of those. Defensively, you brought this up Monday in your media availability. You love that they got in position early, and it wasn't a glimpse. They could use their eyes and see so much. Well, see a little, see a lot. What I mean is they keyed, they triggered, they reacted, and they took. Everybody said, why will we tackle? So I thought we tackled really well. But we took the air out. We weren't in big spaces. Now, again, I think we had a talent advantage, no doubt, and that helped. But still triggering, getting there to getting and boxing guys in, having the help of the sideline, using the help of the other defender, how the ball is going to come out. So it allowed you to square up and tackle well. And you got to trigger and process information to get to those spots quickly, and they did a good job. Josh DeBerry doesn't get the interception if Fadil Diggs isn't pressuring the quarterback, correct? And we're playing full, and a lot of bounce tackles he made that were just, man, he took the air out of him. You've seen the experience of knowing a guy that knows how to play. And you're big on, you got to take the guy to the ground, right? You said play to the echo of the whistle, and the final 2 seconds were going to be so key. Every play. You can't let him out finish in that echo of the whistle till it quit blowing. You got to play it all the way through, and there's nothing. Effort can overcome a lot of things. Now you got to have discipline, you got to have technique, and all those things. But man, effort does not take ability. Effort is a want to. How bad do you really want to do something? Being tough is that. Giving effort, having discipline, pride, grit. Those things aren't talent. They can become a talent. They make your talent. They enhance your talent, but they are not a talent. They're a choice. And that's what our guys are doing a really good job of right now.
And Coop at linebacker was really good. How was Torian York?
Good, man. The calls, the triggers, made 3 or 4 tackles, but just getting us lined up, getting in his gap, being unselfish, bouncing the ball to other people, and people making plays. Really played a nice game.
Special, isn't he?
Yes.
He got a lot of talent right there. I love something DJ Durkin did earlier this week. Defense was running a drill, and he said, and as they're coming off the field for the break, he says, "We're okay." He goes, "But we have to get to here." He goes, "But we're okay right now. We're getting there," which is really nice to see. That's part of the growth as you talk about.
You got to encourage, but you got to demand, and they're doing a nice job. And I say our front guys did a good job, and we tackled up front and got in those gaps. Those guys are getting better.
He's Jimbo Fisher, and this is the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show. It's presented by Capital Farm Credit. So much more to come here from Rudy's 504 Harvey Road here in College Station. Stay with us. This is Aggie football from Learfield.
Thank you. It was good fun. I agree.
Barker's Heating and Cooling, proud to be the official heating and cooling provider for Texas A&M Athletics, earning your seal of approval since 1974. A lot's changed since then, but our pride in Aggie football and our commitment to providing great service remains as strong as ever. Barker says, "Gig 'em, Aggies." They have checked in from Katy, McKinney, Belton, Crosby, Fort Worth. That's where Bert Hines, class of 75, has checked in. And from Sugar Land around Texas for the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show is presented by Capital Farm Credit. It is question time, and I did not get one in from Steve last week, so he's up first. How much changes in the team's attitude have you noticed from last year, and can they keep it up the whole season?
Well, that's the goal, and you want to do that. I've seen good changes. I think the leadership has done a great job of help changing that, but I think they got a purpose. I think they got a chip on their shoulder, and I think they're hungry to play, and we practiced that way and prepared that way. Hopefully we can continue to play that way.
You have to have a short memory and a long memory in sports, don't you? You can't forget.
No.
They won't duplicate when things start going awry. I've noticed that in camp and in practices,
yeah,
Jimbo.
Well, they're mentally tough. I think we have greater mental toughness, and we'll find out. Going on the road in a hostile environment, we're going to find out. We're definitely going to find out because there'll be some adversity and how you deal with it, how you handle it, what happens, and minimize the damage and get back to your fundamentals and come out of it. But, I feel right now, I feel confident we're able to do that.
You know what I didn't understand until you said it? It's how you react to your own big plays. You can react in the wrong way after a big play on offense, correct?
Yeah, we have devastating plays and we get mad. Or when you make a great play, okay, be happy, celebrate with your teammates. Now get back to the next one. This game is a duplication game. How many times can you do your job perfectly? That's the goal. How many times in a row can you do it perfectly? And whoever does it the most generally comes out on top because most games are not won, they're lost.
That's interesting. I don't know if fans understand that. I really don't.
They don't. Well, look at some of the upsets you've seen in the last couple of days.
Yeah.
The opportunities were there for those teams to make them, and fortunately they didn't execute. You look at us last year. We had plenty of opportunities at certain times. Couldn't get those 5 games by 3.8 points. That's one play. Executing at critical moments, critical times, or having a self-inflicted wound that cost you, and it's keeping the poise to be able to do that. Now, good teams take advantage of those, which is true.
Right.
But, you don't want to give the other team the inches. You got to find the inches yourself.
You remind them that constantly.
Constantly.
Right. That goes back to what you said early. Win the day.
Win the day, win the play, and then break it down. Let me win the play. Let me win the series. Then let me win the drive. And just keep going on and don't get bored doing the right things.
Yeah.
That's what we do. We get bored. Well, I got this. No, you don't. You don't ever have this. You don't ever, ever, ever have this. I don't care how simple it is, because great teams do ordinary things better than anybody else.
There are plenty of guys who can do it once, right?
Oh, they're full of them. The park's full of them. The street's full of them. They all could do it. But can they do it and willing to do it, and when they could do it, and how many times in a row could they do it?
That is the separator. Wesley, class of 95. He let you off last week, so he's going to hit you with 2 of them right here. Will the tight ends see any action this week?
Oh, yeah, they did. We had action last week. It just didn't get to them for some, the way the reads panned out. And like I said, we give quarterbacks a lot of freedom to find the matchups and things they want. But, yes, they're developing well.
The incompletion to Jake in the end zone was impressive, Jimbo, because New Mexico was not going to intercept that pass. It was only going to be where Jake could catch. He just ran out of room on that sideline.
Well, quarterbacks have to play with aggressive intelligence. You can say, don't make a mistake, don't throw a pick. Well, you don't make a completion, too. You can play so casual or preventive, you don't make plays. You got to have aggressive intelligence. In other words, and when you make throws, you miss in safe zones. And on tightly covered people, there's certain, on each route, there's a place that I'm trying to put the ball, but if I miss when it's tightly covered, I want to miss high, I want to miss low, I want to miss outside, and miss down, depending on the play. And I think that's what Connor was doing.
Wesley also asked thoughts on the direction of college football with regards to conference realignment consolidation.
I'm just glad we're in only 2 time zones. Every other league's got 3 or 4. I mean, I do not know how they're going to do it. Glad I'm not a part of it.
Yeah.
And I feel sorry for the kids. I really do. But everything we do is for the kids, right?
Right.
Everything we do is for the kids, right? The kids' best interest is always at heart, right? Until money's involved.
You have scrambling now because they've got to be aligned or they're going to be left out. Correct? That's why.
And that's why schools have to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, they've got to get into a conference to keep the programs and the money and the things that goes on, and it's just football for one thing, but all the other Olympic sports and all the other sports, man, it's huge, and that's what scares me. Listen, no matter what happens, football is going to be fine. I mean, I say that, and I'm not saying arrogant. That's our sport. That's what everything's about. What I worry about is all the Olympic sports, the women's sports, the Title IX. I mean, all your other, as I say, they're not major. They're all major sports. I love watching them all. Yeah. But I mean, what's going to happen to them with the travel and the money and the things that goes on? That's what scares me for the future of college athletics. Is all that.
Yeah, it's logistics. Whoever's in logistics now in college sports, they're the ones who are going to be making some money in the next couple of years. Trying to find out how everybody can do that. Linda Wheeler wants to know the media window dresses, and window dresses is in quotation marks, college recruits with star ratings. What does the A&M coaching staff do to research and analyze an athlete's past for whether it's substance abuse, troublesome behavior, beginning in middle, high school, and extended?
We go all the way back. We ask questions. We find janitors. We find people at the street. We find people at the local gas station. I mean, everybody in an area. Why you have those areas and you get those situations with people and trying to getting the right guys and are they made of the right makeup. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And listen, guys are going to make mistakes. You can't get rid of everybody for every little mistake you ever make in the past, or none of us would be sitting here. All right? So let's be honest, okay?
You've told us a little about your past,
well,
too,
I mean,
friend.
everybody. But at the same time, you want to get the right guys, and you try to. And now they limit you as far as time, but we put. That's why we hire so many people, talking to other people, talking to ex-coaches, little league coaches, Pop Warner coaches, people in the neighborhood. I mean, that's why you recruit an area, and you don't specifically. Well, the receiver coach should go recruit him, but who has that area? Because whoever has that area has been the local gas station that's right down from the school because you stopped and got gas because you came through the school. You know the guy there. And guess what? That kid's probably been by there. Mm-hmm. The local store, the local hamburger joint, the local place in the neighborhood at the park where everybody goes. And you can go say, hey, how is Jimmy? You know what I mean? How is he when he's over here? How you have those things, and we do that a lot. And that's one of the things that's fading in college sports by the way recruiting is going now. You're limiting windows to be out, keeping coaches from being out, and it keeps you from doing a lot of those things. And what they think is better is also limiting your ability to get information.
You can teach talent. You can't teach character, can you?
No. Well, you can educate character. I mean, guys have character, you don't, but you can help guys get it. And some guys don't know they don't know. Uh-huh. You know what I mean? People don't know they don't know. You got to understand what they've been exposed to. Not everybody is exposed to the same things. We wish they were.
Yeah.
Not everybody's grew up in the same household. Not everybody's grew up. I believe you can't teach guys to do the right things, demand they do the right things, and in time they will do the right. I truly believe people want to do the right things. And I think that's part of the personal growth of people, because when a kid grows personally, he's going to grow academically and athletically. Everybody gets caught up in the athletic development. Grow personally. Some of these kids never think they could ever sit in a room with certain kinds of people and have a conversation and feel comfortable and feel accepted. That's a fact. I don't care if it's a country person going to the city, a city person going to the country. I mean, I don't care. A white person with a black person with a white person. I mean, we don't ever feel that. And when we show kids how to teach them to grow and let them sit in a room and feel comfortable and have a conversation about things they never dreamed and nobody in their family ever had a conversation with, the confidence that gives them, how they grow as a human being, it's amazing how they grow as a player. To me, that's the key to getting guys to do the right things.
And not every 18-year-old is the same at 22 by the time they leave, right?
Well, listen, 18 to 22. Go back and think about yourself.
I don't want to.
Hey, if it was like some of these people, everybody was married. I mean, back in the day, everybody. Yeah. I know. Listen, your grandmother, everybody got married at young ages. You know what I mean? Now you don't want to get married till you're 28. Yeah. You know what I'm saying, or whatever it is, and everybody's got to go everybody's having fun. Hey, think about if they had social media when you were 18 to 22. I won't look at his audience. Now, your faces will tell me all I need to know. Go start remembering. Start remembering. As older we get, the more we forget that stuff. You know what I'm saying? Because all those things get blown up on social media today. These kids don't. There's nowhere for them to hide.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So let's just be careful before we throw rocks at a glass house. And some of us have some people have no windows. You know what I'm saying? I mean, let's just be. So it's a time. Listen, you don't want major mistakes. You don't want any mistakes. I'm not accepting that. But also, it doesn't make them bad people.
Right.
That's what you got to learn in life, you know what I'm saying? And they get exposed and pressures and doing things. And today, the pressure on these kids, and it's not an excuse, but it's unbelievable. The amount of pressure these kids hold because of one thing, social media.
Yeah.
And I know I do believe that's the culprit.
Yeah.
They care what everybody thinks, what everybody says, what everything you do is out there, what their opinion of themselves is based on whatever somebody thinks of them. From the previous Saturday or the practice or what people have said or what's on the internet or what people have, and it's a world that if they would all turn it off, I say it. That's why I believe in that.
You say eliminate the clutter.
I mean, it's clutter.
Yeah.
Why do I care what somebody else thinks of me?
Right.
Because I don't even know.
No.
You know what I'm saying?
You need to care what your teammates say.
And you handle pressures and things like that. Remember what remember what your family says. Remember what your teammates say. Remember what your coaches say. The people in that room. You know what I mean? But it is what it is.
That's why you're so big on leadership on a team and the Unity Council as well.
Unity Council setting the tone on, and the leadership of the team have to.
Yeah.
No doubt.
He is Jimbo Fisher. This is the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show. We'll turn our attention to the next opponent for the Aggies, the Miami Hurricanes. That's when we return to Rudy's, 504 Harvey Road here in College Station. The Jimbo Fisher Radio Show, presented by Capital Farm Credit. This is Aggie football from Learfield. Texas Farm Bureau Insurance wants to provide a trip for 12 to the Ole Miss game. That's on November 4th. And to register for the 12th Fan trip, visit 12thman.com/12thfan. Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, proud corporate partner of Texas A&M Athletics. We continue with the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show. It's presented by Capital Farm Credit. From Kensington, Kansas, Denver, Colorado, Springfield, Missouri, Illinois has checked in, and Rickville has checked in from South Florida, which that's the segue. We're going to South Florida, taking on Miami. And, Jimbo, I dare say neither team is the same as the two teams that played last year,
no,
are they?
I mean, we've all grown, and hopefully we've gotten better. I know they have. They're a much better team. They look at on film what they're doing. The players look really good, so we're going to play really well.
Yeah, it's an interesting matchup last year. Thought it was interesting because we talked red zone a little bit earlier. You did not allow them in the end zone last year. It was the field goals.
The field goals.
And they were 3 for 5 in field goals. That ended up being a very key part of that game. But offensive line seems to be better. The D-line. You were talking, Jimbo, I have to tell you, until I met you, I never heard twitch applied to a defensive lineman. But when it comes to the athleticism of D linemen, D tackles, nose guards, that is a big, big change in college, and that is a big, big part of a team's defense.
Well, I mean, up front, those guys, when that twitch, they got power and explosion. And listen, I call those oozers, and you got those kind of guys, those twitch guys. The real guys they can change direction, they can burst, they can create power, they can create their own gaps, and the explosion they have. I mean, it's just like watching a great basketball player explode to the rim. You know what I mean? Or something like that. I mean, those great backs explode. D linemen do the same thing. Those guys can run and explode and create power, and usually those guys like that have very good flexibility, lower body flexibility, and create leverage, and man, you make them hard to block, and that's the key.
They're starting to get paid too in the NFL, aren't they?
Oh, listen, you pay the quarterback, the tackle, left tackle, and that guy up front that can put the quarterback on the ground. I mean, those guys are making all their money. That's where it's at.
As you always say, those guys are closest to the football.
The guys with the hand in the dirt change it. I mean, we all don't notice everything that goes on, but that dictates everything that happens.
Is that what Mario Cristobal is bringing to Miami, those guys with the hands in the dirt?
Oh, his next offensive lineman himself was a great player during the great times, and they had great offensive lines, and he knows that and understands that, and they ran the ball very well last week and have done a good job.
You have always gone into South Florida, haven't you, for the talent that's there? It's a talent-rich part of the state.
I've always been down. I was recruited there even when I was coaching at Auburn back in the early 90s. That was an area I always went to personally, was my recruiting area, so I know it very well. And, man, it's as talented as anywhere in the country. I mean, there's the players that come out of there, and it's great coaches, great players, and Texas has them too, but Miami, that's take a back seat to anybody. And you look at the years in the history of sports, and it's a great area.
Long time ago, Howard Schnellenberger got that map of Florida. He circled the bottom third. He called it the state of Miami. He was not going to allow players to get out of it.
I-4 right there above Orlando, and you go back and look at it, and it's a heavy populated state, loves football, and there's tons of players.
Really, really good memory the last time we were in the Orange Bowl.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, we did. We were able to win the Orange Bowl, and we beat North Carolina that day. And, it's had some good ones down there, and that's one of the great things about going down. You playing in the Orange Bowl where so many people have walked on that field and what it's meant, and the old Orange Bowl before that, and the history of just being in that game. And I remember as a kid, the last bowl game back in the day when they used to have them all in one day, that was the 8 o'clock game.
Yes, it was.
Don Criqui and Bob
Don Criqui, Bob Trumpy did that game.
Doing that game,
yeah.
I remember right after the Rose Bowl and however it went. And, just great tradition. But, and you get to play against a great Miami team. All the great players that played there.
In something that is just, this is how I think. I think it was the national championship game. NBC wanted to send Dick Enberg to that game, and Dick said no, it's Don Cricky's game, and allowed Don Criqui to do that game. You know who's going to call the Rose Bowl. You know who's going to call the Orange Bowl, the Sugar Bowls, the Cotton Bowls. It was just the tradition that went with that. And I miss having that on one day. I know that sounds what we have today, and it's great, but I miss all those games on one day and on January 1 and that whole thing. The Cotton Bowl was always early, and the sugar varied a little bit. Yeah.
Rose was always about 5 o'clock Eastern, 4 to 5 o'clock, and 8 o'clock was the Orange Bowl.
That's because you were in West Virginia.
It was in the middle of the day.
It was cold, and you got to watch those warm weather cities, the teams playing, right?
Yep, exactly.
Was that one of the few times you would not go outside?
Yeah.
As a kid, right?
Yeah, on New Year's Day, man. You were watching all those games. Hoping one day you'd be there.
And you have been. Right?
I've been to a lot of them. You're exactly right. I've been to most of them.
You've been to that mountaintop, my friend. That's for sure. He is Jimbo Fisher. This is the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show. It's presented by Capital Farm Credit. More to come from Rudy's, 504 Harvey Road here in College Station. Stay with us. This is Aggie football from Learfield. Rudy's is a proud sponsor of Aggie football. Be sure to stop by your local Rudy's or Rudy's.com for some real Texas barbecue. Enjoy 100% oak smoked meats, delicious sides, and Rudy's signature sauce. That's where we are right now. We are Rudy's, 504 Harvey Road here in College Station. It's the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show, and it's presented by Capital Farm Credit. The Aggies in Miami on Saturday, 2:30 kick, 1:30 for our St. Joseph Health pregame show. Jimbo, I love the matchups that will occur on Saturday. This wide receiving core for A&M against a very good Miami secondary. I just think each line is going to test the other on Saturday.
There's going to be battles up front. You're going to have to create time and take time away from them and create time for yourself. It's going to be battles. Kitchens and those guys are All-Americans. Leonard Taylor's All-American. Transfer they have from Purdue, 58's a great player. The edge is Harvey, 9 and 12. Those guys can rush. All those guys can play. The new backers they have. Front new lineman. The back is physical, tough, hard to get on the ground. Receivers, you got fast ones, quick ones, and big ones. 6'5", 6'6" guys too. Quarterbacks are very experienced, can throw it. The kickers and punters are really good, and they were number 2 in kickoff return in the country a year ago. Listen, they're good all the way across the board. It's going to be a heck of a game.
Yeah, I know it's another offensive coordinator for Tyler Van Dyke, but there's that experience under center for that guy who's seen an awful lot.
There's no doubt. There's nothing like saddle time. Guys get on the field, and like you say, and he does it well.
Yeah, he really does. When Henry Parrish III left Ole Miss, I was like, oh, that's great. He went right to Miami, who we play every year.
Exactly right.
Last 2 years. But what you say is interesting. You have to get him on the ground. He runs hard, doesn't he, Jimbo?
He runs hard, change of direction, power, just catches the ball, pass block, just does that. He's a really good back.
Yeah. Is James Williams 6'5" in that back end?
Oh, yeah, he's a 6'5" safety.
You love the length in the
big
back
down
end.
Guys. Kitchens is a first-team All-American. The corners can play and run. They've got it all.
You've got a guy in Josh DeBerry who played in the ACC, so he's played Miami. You've got Tony Grimes who played in the ACC, played Miami, and obviously the Aggies have played them as well. So that familiarity, I think, adds even more intrigue in this one.
It does. A transfer portal, they're coming from everywhere.
They are, but you got to get the right guys, right?
No doubt. You got to get the right guys, do the right things.
Yeah, and absolutely done that. We've got one more segment of the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show. It's presented by Capital Farm Credit as we wrap up another fantastic show here at Rudy. Stay with us. This is Aggie football from Learfield. Wrapping up the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show presented by Capital Farm Credit. We're at Rudy's, 504 Harvey Road here in College Station. A late check-in. Brian Kennedy says, gig 'em from Clarksburg, West Virginia.
Yeah.
And I always assume you know everybody who checks in from.
I do. I know Brian really well. He's a good guy, man. Great guy.
That's so cool, Jimbo, because the way college football is, and I know the positives and the negatives, but it's because it can be national. Where you have brought Texas A&M in this program, you can have the friends check in on you and make sure that they can see
the good thing, they did a thing the other day to interview 1,000 high school athlete football players in the country. did the top brands for them. And A&M was 7th in the country. At Alabama, a couple of them, Ohio State above, and A&M. And actually, we were 7th. Texas was 8th, and somebody else was below it. But we were in the top. I mean, being in the top 7 and we're climbing, that's a big job. I mean, we're getting wrecked. We're recruiting nationally. Everybody around us sees us, and this is the best kept secret in the world.
You held up that helmet at the very beginning, and you challenged your players.
Yep. What's it going to mean? And that's our challenge right now. What does that mean? What's that helmet stand for?
Yeah, so Miami on Saturday. Let you get on out of here. Thank you so much, and we'll see you on Saturday. Beat the hell out of Miami.
Thank you very much.
You got it. He is Jimbo Fisher. The Fighting Texas Aggies and the Miami Hurricanes. That will be on Saturday, and we will join you at 1:30. It will be our St. Joseph Health pregame show. We're going to hear from Shamar Stewart, who will be going back home. He grew up in Miramar, and that's just minutes away from Hard Rock Stadium. Fun to talk to him about his line mates, who's on that defensive line, and also fun to talk with Shamar about the talent. He's going to be playing against a lot of friends, some former teammates who will be playing for the Miami Hurricanes. And he talks very interestingly about how his folks did not want him to go to Miami. So he came to College Station and playing for Texas A&M, and thrilled to have Shamar Stewart on this team. Love having both Shamars on this team, and that defensive line will be very key against Miami. Also going to hear from Jimbo Fisher. We have our starting lineups as well, and Dave's going to tell us all about turnovers, how important they're going to be, because that's what he does every single week, and he's absolutely right, as Jimbo said a little bit earlier on, and you'll hear from him. It comes down to turnovers and big plays when it comes to the early part of the season. But what a matchup we have for Saturday. 2:30 is the kick, 1:30 with our St. Joseph Health pregame show, the Fighting Texas Aggies and the Miami Hurricanes, both 1-0. Kevin Menchow has been the engineer of the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show, presented by Capital Farm Credit here at Rudy's, 504 Harvey Road. Tony O'Neill is our producer in our Learfield studios. For Jimbo Fisher, I'm Andrew Monaco. We thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you on Saturday from South Florida. This is Aggie Football from Learfield.